The first time my boyfriend hit me, it didn't even register. He'd pushed, grabbed me, and destroyed things. Things that really mattered to me. Things I thought really mattered to him. At first it was just things. Then it was words. But words are just words when people fight. Nobody means it, right? You make up, you forgive, you move on. Then it was emotional manipulation. He made me feel genuinely sorry for him, but I didn't know what to do. For the first time in my life, I didn't have a voice. I'm not a violent person. I didn't grow up in a violent home. Quite the opposite. My parents were practically hippies. Make love, not war. I'd always had a very strong voice growing up, and I always found myself in situations where I was forced to stand up for myself, and I did, as peacefully as possible. I think that's why it was so surprising for people who know me to see me stuck, struggling to be heard for over 5 years. The good times were glorious. He made me laugh like no one else. He was smart, goofy, but never as loving as I was used to growing up. I figured perhaps I was just an anomaly. Maybe I was just lucky to have grown up in a very loving, giving home. Then the bad times kept getting worse and more frequent. There were so many things he said and did that I didn't realize were his attempts to control me. I want to be clear. He's not an inherently bad person. He's a troubled person, just like many. And I never wanted to fix him. There's this stigma around abused women that we all choose to be victims in a game of compensating for a lack of our own self-worth. That was never something I was. At least not at first. Then little things started to bother him. The TV's too loud, turn it the fuck down. This potato tastes funny, what the fuck did you cook it in? It didn't matter what it was. It would always be my fault, and it was my job to fix it. And if I couldn't, well, there would be consequences. Abusers are often victims in their own story of abuse. It all makes for a potentially dangerous set of circumstances, like a chemistry experiment. Add all the wrong ingredients and it explodes out of the beaker. He was testing me, seeing if what he was taught to believe and understand was something that I was willing to be. I don't think he wanted it that way, but that's the way it was. The consequences never started out as a violent response to something I did or didn't do. It always started out with an unexpressed expectation that I couldn't live up to. No one could. This turned into a silent energy shift, which turned into screaming within an inch of my face, and then it turned to violence. One night, he punched me right in the face. It was the first time he'd ever struck me somewhere where I couldn't hide it from other people. For a split second, he looked at me and I looked back at him, and he realized what he'd done. Moments later, he was out on our balcony with a chain around his neck, threatening to kill himself. I found myself having to delay my own need for medical attention just to stop him. Getting out was a long process. I kept trying to leave as peacefully as possible. I didn't want to be forced to call the cops. Then he punched me in the face again, and this would be the last time. If I spoke to him now, I would tell him, I'm sorry that it had to be that way. He left me no choice. They never taught me about abuse in school. They never explained to my upper middle class peers what it looks like or how it feels. There's an assumption amongst certain subsets of economic environments that you'll never have to deal with or experience violence in your home. And this is simply not the case. 1 in 4 women will experience violence in her life, domestic violence in her lifetime. I never believed he would actually kill me, but you can't know what someone like that is capable of when they're angry, and I'm not psychic. I'd rather not find out. He's not behind bars. He's an adult, capable of making his own choices. and so am I. Every day is a step in the right direction, and every day he's still there in some way. There are triggers, things that serve as gentle reminders that I still have a voice, it's still loud, and I am stronger than I could have ever imagined.